this. The next piece is, the cash reserves at the time were $14,606.
That's close.
Yes, you were very close within dollars. So you add all those numbers together, you get 237,763. If you subtract that from 317, the requested infusion from PILT, you get a remaining balance of $79,238. I propose that we take that money, which usually went to the CIP for cars anyway, and put it into the public safety budget. And this is for fiscal year 15.
Okay, a good question. Taking from the detention center and moving over, because they have milled funds in theirs, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong, first to say it, but didn't Harold state that you can't take from one milled fund to another? That time in that time?
We actually are working with Kim Downey, who is our auditor, on how to do that, based on the fact that it's done by other counties with detention centers. Bozeman, per the article, that this was a plan we put together with Mike Saystad and Joe Briggs. Yeah, we can do it. Kim's gonna actually give us a more transparent way of doing it in August. We can't wait till August unless you guys want no staff. So, we talked to Kim about this. It is totally approved by the auditors at this point.
I have two things. One, I guess I have more too. One, with what, oh, they reached out. I don't want to hose Mike. And I want to make sure we're not creating a hardship with Mike.
You're not,
Okay. As long
Which
as-
Mike?
Myers.
Okay.
Mike has done great things for us, and he's been over backwards to do a lot of things for us, not only in the detention side of the house, but in the sheriff's office side. So I wanna make sure we're not creating a hardship for him. The other thing, and when you and Laura were over for your quarterly tour, which thank you, I appreciate you guys coming over for, I did discuss the interview room with you at that time. I did get that quote. It's fairly significant at the time, but they're the same company that's also looking at redoing our 911 center, because our 911 system is unfortunately outdated. And so that has gone through the RFP process and everything else. They said it could be reduced in cost if they're here doing the 911, they can do the recording room at the same time. From the aspect of what Corey is needing, and for his court cases, this is one of those things I honestly can't sidestep on. Obviously, we're coming up on trial 2. We haven't had 2 trials in this county ever.
3.5 years.
It's been a long time, and so and Corey's doing great work, but we need to be able to give him a little better product than what we have right now. It's a very time-consuming, very problematic issue. I know what we have that's not expensive, but I would like to try to get that in place as soon as I can, so then we can start giving Corey a product a little bit better. Basically what it is a 2-camera system that's on a standalone computer system. It also has a different mic. It also has a switch and stuff, so when the officer walks in, they hit the switch, the camera comes on, starts recording. When he walks out, he hits it, it stops recording, it automatically puts it into a file in that designated computer.
What are we talking money?
Right now, with the way it is, it's 10 grand. But he said if we're here, that's including, if they weren't here. So if they had to travel and all that other stuff. I think in operations level, I think we were sitting fine enough to where we could work that in. That's one of those things we're just in that stage, unfortunately. We're doing enough felonies now, and Corey has a laundry list. One particular case, 33 interviews is what he needs done. Right now we have to do it separately. We have to do an audio and we have to do a video. The video doesn't have audio on it, so we have digital recorder, which makes it very cumbersome when they're trying to do a hearing or a trial, because you have to try to figure out how to play 2 discs simultaneously to get it to work. And that's why we need to upgrade. That system has been there since 2005. It is for lack of better words, it's junk. It really is. We've tried all sorts of things, it's just not producing. So I understand, I have this over here that I need to address and fix.
Can I make you a trade? I've talked to Mike, I
Okay.
cleared this with him, he's aware of that, he gave me an estimate that was also 10 grand, so I don't know if that was just a good estimate on his part, or if he was privy to some of that.
Oh, for the interview room?
Mhm.
Yeah, I did tell him what it was.
Oh, good,
Yeah,
okay.
so, no, we had a conversation, because he said for the walls and stuff, and to fix what we need to fix, it's just a few $100, I think is what he said. But I need to get that done.
That, I think, we're gonna, that be a part of the building CIP,
Okay,
and we're working on a plan with that,
okay.
with Mike, with his list, a lot of it from your department, which is great.
Well,
Here's my
I'm trying-
trade
I'm sorry,
request.
just so, if I, let me just
Yes,
add this in
please.
here real quick. Is that building was designed in 2003 to meet the needs of 2003. We've outgrown it, and we've come into a lot of roadblocks with it. We're trying to get it to where it's more functional for everybody involved. Our tasks are getting much more complicated and everything else. And so I've had a lot of conversations with Mike about adding walls and doing this and doing that, because it's not what it used to be. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I miss the old days when I used to come here, when I got here from Helena PD, and went, God, nothing goes on here. I'm not sure where those days went, but they don't exist anymore. So I'd like, trying to get that building to conform to what our needs are now. It's just gonna be a lot more complicated. But, trade.
Okay, so this has all been cleared with Mike. The 30,000 was cleared with Mike. And he has a list, he has prices. The year budget in the detention center for contracted services the last month shot up by $5,000. I've been hearing a couple of rumblings that the detention center staff is calling in contractors without talking to Mike. It's costing us money we don't need to be paying.
Yeah.
Mike needs to be called first.
Yeah.
It needs to be a solid policy and it needs to be followed. Otherwise, we're throwing money
Yeah.
out the window or into the bonfire.
Well, we all know we have some problems over there, in regards to the detention center. And, it has come to the point now of written directives, and when those written directives are followed, there are people are being reprimanded at an alarming rate. It's been, three last week, 3 written reprimands last week, and that's uncommon, but it has to, the words we've used is we will gain control of this building. And so we understand that. That's part of our medical issue as well, as people are taking it upon themselves to take people to the ER. And whether DOC or somebody else, you have to have prior approval. And that's where we're getting bamboozled. I mean, we're getting hammered left and right with medical costs because people just won't take the time to call their nurse. And so those are things that we're trying. Like sometimes I think it's a daycare, not a group full of adults that have high school education, if not more. And it's very frustrating because they just won't make a phone call. It's 30 seconds of your life, make a phone call.
Why won't they? I don't understand.
We don't know.
Nobody knows. You can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a list of directives that are on the door in the control room, and they're highlighted in pink, and they stand out, and people violate them, and they go, I understand what the problem is. I'm not sure who highlighted it, but it's right there, you can see it. I just don't understand, so it's very problematic. So I do understand that was a garage door, I believe it was a garage door. That was partially my fault, because they said, who takes care of the doors? I said, door systems, Montana. So they called them. Wasn't me. Sorry.
You forgive me this time.
Oh, that happened again.
Well, you just forget.
Sure.
You know, we went so long, and we went through Bob Bagley, Warren Toombs, know, it didn't matter what was broken in our jail. Doors, locks, windows, whatever. You can hold a gun to them, they're right now, not going in there. Now we have Mike who's like, I'll get it done. And you forget, and we're busy, and you know, boop, there it is, you know. And I never had Mike when I was an administrator. I ran the jail 5 years and never had anybody like Mike. You know, so it was always Harvey's Plumbing or some air conditioning, heating company, or a laundry list of folks, suppliers and vendors that took care of our needs, and now we don't need that. But, you know, sometimes they need to forget things, so. That's my fault though, so, yeah.
So counters, arguments, darts, grenades.
So if we do this will do the 32%. Now, do we need to go back and, well, I know Brenda's turned in the worksheets for the 15-16 year. I know we have some adjustments to that, in a couple areas. One was corner, and then obviously we need to look at this whole thing as well for 15-16. I think we might have, trying to be on the ball, I think we might have missed a couple things there, and we got jammed, just so you know, we got jammed, both Dr. Gary Dale, who was a senior medical examiner, chief medical examiner for City Montana, resigned April 17th of this year. And so he's gone, and the interim chief medical examiner, William Kemp, his last day is June 30th, and he's leaving as well, which poses a huge problem for us as coroners and autopsies. There's Dr. Bennett in Billings. It's gonna be probably a little more difficult because everybody on the eastern side of the state utilizes him. I mean, basically everything from Big Timber east and north, so a huge area. So we've talked about might have to go over to Coeur d'Alene to get autopsies done, which we're gonna have to have. We've already, I think she set out a thing of an increase on that, just because without a medical examiner in Missoula, I don't know what else to go.
There isn't one in Missoula.
They both
They both resigned. So, which is terrible. So we were lucky. Willie Camp was the only national certified forensic pathologist and anthropologist in the nation, and he's my age. And he's got 2 PhDs, and he's very smart, and he promised me he'd never leave, and then he sent me an email saying, maybe. So he's gonna go teach at the University of North Dakota. So, very frustrating, but we're gonna see more of a guesstimate, I guess, because we just don't know how we're gonna get around some of these things. We're getting put in a bind in that corner aspect that we didn't plan for nor could we plan for. And so you're probably gonna see some increases and go, oh, what the hell's going on? We just got ourselves, in a rut. So, until they get that figured out over there, I don't foresee them having a medical exam in Missoula. If they had one by December, I'd be happy. So, it's just kind of the way things are going over there. So, when you do see that, that's why, so.
Hey, what months have we not been paid for the detention center? We've been paid for March and April both, or this
I
one?
believe we got April.
We've got part, it depends on who's paying.
Right.
Some of them for April have come in.
What are we
in March.
expecting from April at this point that has not come in?
April was what? Well, I don't know what hasn't come in. I think we were about 54,000 for April, and Tammy obviously hasn't done May yet because May just got over. But
Right.
I think we averaged, I believe the average inmate population was 35. I think that was daily, it was average. But we've had up until
Last month, we went down at some dates at 27,
yeah, we had quite a few of it over there.
and that all has to come back to, DOC cutting funds. They weren't putting them in.
So they've really changed the ways.
What are they gonna do? They're gonna have to do something.
Well,
Once they
Yeah.
go to court and get found.
The thing is we face this every single year. DOC says we're gonna make it better, and it doesn't get better, it stays the same,
yeah,
because people keep doing the bad stuff.
yeah.
So
Hard-
we need to plan, but I don't think we need to panic.
No, and I think that, you know, part of, I think you're gonna see some more comfort level. You know, Mike Batista and Kevin Olson are now running DOC. And Mike Batista was a chief, or bureau chief for DCI for a long time, and Kevin Olson was the administrator of the academy. And now they're both over there, so they're trying to work together. I mean, Kevin did very well as the administrator of the Montana Law Enforcement Academy, and did things pretty decently to keep those fundings. I think that's what we're trying to do with DOC right now, but you got a broad spectrum of 120 all the way to, I think, $54 a day, depending on where you're at. And so I think now they've changed it. I think it's $70.40 or $70.20, I think is what the standalone number is, if I remember correctly from what I was reading. So, you know, it could be an increase for us, the way it sounds. So if that's what they're gonna pay us, then if they're gonna pay everybody that across the board, I think that's, so that can give us a little bit more.
Good.
But,
One thing, just the genesis of my question, just to let you know, you guys are gonna exceed your estimated revenue for the detention center this year.
just a little bit.
You're still gonna exceed it.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
meet it, which is great,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna exceed it, which is phenomenal.
Well,
That only
yeah.
helps. So I just wanted to point out that, yeah, it was aggressive. You guys did it. That's huge.
I like to be a little more cautious, I'll be honest with you. So, you know, if I said, here's, I expect $500,000 revenue, and there's 720 that comes in, that's a good day. If I say I expect 657,000, and I get $657,050, that's a little too close for call for me. You know, I like to be more on the cautious side. I don't like trying to fund something based upon someone else's actions. That's the hard part.
Nobody does.
And so,
It's tough, but
it is.
it's.
It is, and
It is
I
what it
know,
is, yeah.
and I'm trying to be user-friendly on this, trust me.
I know,
It's just-
it's tough.
we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do, you know, and that's the thing, you know, this whole public safety is not going away. You know, we can't, it's, you know, the days of what we used to believe is, you know, it is, you send one officer, we can't send one officer. I mean, this weekend, we just had a guy, taking on one of the officers while we were trying to deal with a traffic stop. Trying to deal with a DUI, and some clown decides to walk down the street and get in a wrestling match with Jamie and ends up getting stunned. You know, that's the behavior. There's no consequences on other people's actions, and that's the problem that we're dealing with. And obviously at a much higher rate than what we used to.
So is this nationwide?
It is. It is. Everything that you're seeing on the national level, you see in Broward County just at a much more minimal level. The only thing, and I mean, luckily, thank goodness, I can't remember which article I read, but it talked about violence in Montana and how, I think that would have us listed as fifth as one of the most violent crimes, or violent counties where you can be victim of violent crime. But they said, thank God they put in there was no robberies or homicides reported in our county. It's like, thank you, because, you know, that's, yeah, you're saying that you're gonna stand a chance of being a victim, but at least you're not gonna get shot, or somebody's not gonna rob you. So, you know, I thought it was, you know, a little perk in that, but that's just, there's just no consequences. And, I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there that you just.
Well, you read the paper now, and, I mean, it's violent sex everywhere you turn. I don't care if it's way down in the grades or it's some old grandpa or whatever, I mean, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. I don't understand that.
And kind of reiterate back into the interview room, you know, for us, we're dealing with the broad spectrum of folks all the time. I mean, it's simple things that simple things are going bad quick. And I mean, a month ago, you had Sergeant Buck and Seth Winslow trying to arrest a guy for PFMA, and the guy just, of course, you just can't have a simple domestic anymore. Now we gotta threaten to cut people's throats and throw knives at them and stuff of that nature. Then he goes and barricades himself in a room with 3 rifles and an 8-year-old boy, you know? So they go in there, they get him out of the room, but then it's a 4.5 minute struggle. They tasered him 3 times. The guy was non-compliant the whole time. The taser didn't even really phase him. They finally, after 4.5 minutes, give him handcuffs. That's a fight all the way to jail. The days of where people have respect for law enforcement, out the window, it's gone. Yeah, now it's, you know, it's alarming to look at the Officer Down Memorial page. I get alerts on it. You know, last week, I think there were 7 law enforcement officers killed in the nation. It's just the way things are. And so we have to kind of plan in that aspect as well, and to kind of.
What is the world coming to? And it's not good.
No, so, you know, but it comes down, you know, so as you see things coming through, you know, that's the direction we're going. I mean, it's, unfortunately, you see all the officers, they have exterior carriers, everybody's got an AR-15, everybody's got a scope on their AR-15. We have tasers, we have batons, we have OC spray. I mean, most times bad guys are outgunning us, so we have to be prepared. I mean, the line of duty death benefit from the federal side is $275,000. Not counting what the state and county is responsible for as well. And Broward County in the history of itself has never lost an officer, and I'm not gonna start today either. So, we're trying, it's just a.
Nor do we want to.
There's a cost of doing business, unfortunately, and it's going up. So,
What's your thoughts on looking at this sheet?
my personal opinion is I'm okay with it, as long as I can have latitude to do an interview room.
This is just through November. This is 2015, would be budget amendments. So as far as your interview room, that would be next fiscal year this month.
Okay.
And we gave you an extension to the 19th of June, so if you guys want to revisit that with this in mind, it will affect your cash reserves to the positive. If you can be frugal, it will affect it even more to the positive. So that would be my suggestion to review it. If you guys are okay with it, I'd like signatures, so that we are all in agreement and we all know moving forward what we're doing.
I guess my question would be the expense estimates for public safety, inflated. I don't know that we inflated any of them last year, but I would like to know how you came up with that 66,000.
And that was a thorough worksheet we went through on April 28th. I believe you were given a copy of it. And this is,
Well, we had an increase in operations, I know that.
I did not update this, so that's what we went through on that day. And, give you all 3 papers. Here's another one. And here's the last one. Sharon, did you get copies? Do you want copies of any of this stuff? You know what, after the meeting, I'll show you what I have, and you can have copies, whatever you want. Okay.
Well, that's my understanding. The Corey's gonna put in for a detective, his budget.
Is he gonna put it in over there? I know he was gonna try to do, like a contractual part-time prosecutor for misdemeanors. I think is where he was several conversations. The problem is he's, and literally, you know, it's asking, you know, all the defense counsel go out there and they try to figure out how to get people out of jail, and they go to trainings for it. Yeah, so it's the laundry list of things that we're being asked to provide is just, it's tiring. I mean, it really is. And so we're trying to figure out, but it's, one of the biggest problems we have is the inconsistencies with cases that are being submitted to them and what one person does versus the other. You know, it kind of goes back to training experience and everything else, so, and what people have for time. You know, right now, you know, heck, over Memorial Day weekend, I don't know how many crashes we have, you know, so if somebody's working on something, they had to leave to go deal with the crash, you know. And there's just too much going on, and trying to figure out a way to get it to come around, because we need to get that dealt with. But, you know, unfortunately, trying to change the culture of our office has been quite a task in and of itself, so, because there's been some problems, so, just a few.
To say the least.
Yeah, and they don't seem to be getting any better, but on a good note, I did have a small discussion with some of the union guys, and I think that whole process is gonna move fairly smooth this year. There's really nothing, a lot of their stuff is a lot of housekeeping as well, in regards to just the way things are done, doing set forth in contract. So really anything, I mean, I honestly don't know why it would take more than a day, I'll be honest with you.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's just, there's not.
Music to our ears, huh?
Yeah,
No
there's
kidding.
really not a lot. There was discussion about the Me Too clause, and we had some back and forth on it, but, if we're gonna have, I don't think we're gonna have much of a conflict in that regards either. Really nothing real significant. Like I said, a lot of it's just some housekeeping, cleaning, you know, that contract itself. So if we can't get through it today, we're doing something wrong, I'll be honest with you. So, they told me kind of what they were thinking, and I told them what I was thinking, and then the three that were sitting in the room were content with that. And they said, no, that's.
Brenda, you wanna take that and go through the stuff and get back with us?
Well, and that's why I was, wanting to look at this. So year-to-date, is that what you're saying is, at that time was left in it?
I believe so.
I guess I'm just trying to
Spent,
understand.
no,
this.
year-to-date is spent year-to-date.
So what's the
So-
75% difference? Is that last column?
Yeah.
Right? Is that what's left? Is that?
No, it's not this left. I mean, some of
The
them-
first column is the current budget, what was budgeted with the amendment we did a couple months ago. Year-to-date spent, that's what's been spent year-to-date, so
Yeah.
far. The next column is what would be expected to be seen in that budget at 75%, which is where we were when we went through this. So that would be tracking to the penny from your current budget. The difference is the money above that hasn't been spent. So that's kind of your extra over and above what you've needed and what was budgeted. If that makes sense.
We'll be meeting again Wednesday. If you would need it.
Well, okay, the 75% it would be at that time, is that the way I understand it?
Yeah. So 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year.
So we get 85% left here, which is 63,000.
To get the 66, what I did is I updated it. I didn't go through that and update it because it just would take way too long and not even knowing if you guys would accept any kind of proposal. I wasn't gonna put in that time. What I did do is I went through the budget that I received last Friday and just took out what had been spent.
Is
So, it's
the,
rudimentary.
Is the detention center budget gonna be a standalone budget again this year?
We're gonna work with Kim, yes, it is always gonna be a standalone.
Okay.
We have to do that,
Okay.
but what we're going to do is probably put it under one fund with a firewall in between. I would imagine for what we're doing here, it's gonna be exactly the same. It's just, it will be easier to transfer money back and forth than it is now.
Well, it was, that was my concern. You know, I have concerns. I don't wanna fall back into, I honestly never wanna see a detention budget that looks currently the way it does, ever again. And I guess that's where, the checks and balances aspect of it, I guess that's where I was trying to figure out who's gonna have some more authority, I guess, and that's my concern. You know, I'm not sure. There might be some procedural aspects of that. You know, and that's it's kind of a double-edged sword because as the commissioners, it's your jail, it's your building. It's the sheriff's responsibility to manage it and maintain, or to manage the folks in the facility itself and the operations of it. But we gotta kind of intertwine that communication so we're not falling into this bind that we're in right now. So, because that was actually, to be, and luckily we're over in expected revenue because that's gonna be assistance of trying to fix that little mess, so.
And maybe that could be wrapped into our monthly meetings. You know, we used to get, when Nick first started, monthly spreadsheets of, you know, how many people you had, how many were local, how many from out of town. You know, I think maybe we need to go back to that too,
Well,
so that we can track it and see anything coming.
Our new system, you know, is somewhat problematic. It's not quite as user-friendly to getting that information as it once was. So I probably still do it. And I guess when it comes to those monthly meetings, I always look at the agenda. If I'm on it, I come over and I say whatever I need to say. But it was never said, and so I didn't know who was supposed to be making an arrangement. You know, Gary, if you want to talk to me, you know, call my phone or send an email. I'm more than happy to come over and say what's going on. I don't have a problem with that. I just, you know, if there's gonna be a certain time or a certain day, then let's just put it in concrete, and that's the way it's gonna be. It's like Warrior Club meeting was the second Monday, search and rescue is the first Thursday, sheriff's office report and review will be the second Wednesday. Whatever works, but I think we'll just pick a spot and just work from there. That makes my life easier, so, if we could.
Do you wanna come back on Wednesday then, Brenda, or?
Yeah, I can come back on, what time Wednesday? Wednesday is the
Third.
third, yeah.
It's
I'm thinking different dates, cause I got,
my anniversary day.
okay.
Of 19 years in this municipal
Dun, dun,
career.
dun.
Today's 10 years for open heart surgery,
Nice.
Wow, congratulations.
and it's still ticking.
As soon as I was talking, guy was telling me he went in and one of his friends went in, he's a resident here, and he went in and had a stress test done. He got about 2 minutes into it. Heart doctor said, get off that. Felt like he needed quadruple bypass. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
he's like, well, try killing. He's like, I don't think you understand. They put him on a helmet, they put him on a plane, flew him. So,
Wow.
yeah, I'll tell you what, that heart's it's an interesting creature, so. The heart disease is inherited, it's not, you can, by eating right and stuff, you can help kind of slow things down, but it's an inherited nightmare from our family, so.
I was born with a bicuspid valve rather than a tricuspid valve.
Wow.
Didn't have a clue until I went in. I knew I had a murmur, but didn't have a clue until I went in to have knee surgery.
Wow.
And they said, no, we have some other things first.
We thought we were getting it fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait till Wednesday, and I'll give you time to go, yeah,
And I think it should be announced that this is tabled so that we can take action on Wednesday.
Right.
Just because we're so
Yeah,
close
yeah,
to the end of the year.
Table it and continue on Wednesday.
Sounds like a
10
plan.
o'clock.
10 o'clock? I'll try to be here.
Go
Can
ahead.
I just make a comment, because it looks like you two are gonna leave? I think, from my own experience, when you deal with perverts and sociopaths and psychopaths and all the rest of it all the time, that's what you see, and you forget about everybody else that you don't see. And I think if you actually talk to the people in the county that you don't see, you find that we care about the sheriff's office, we depend upon the sheriff's office, and we don't want to see anybody hurt.
Oh, no, there's a lot of good folks in this county.
You're so
Don't get me wrong.
soft-spoken, I couldn't hardly hear that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good folks here, and it's just, the problem is, one of our biggest problems here in public safety is our transient population.
Yes,
It's not our folks.
and
been here
Route
for a long
12, I
time.
think, is about the busiest road in the
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, and it's just, we get so many, and I don't know what draws them here. I mean, I don't know how people we stop and talk to, they're like, yeah, we just moved here from where? Georgia?
Yeah,
How do you find Townsend? I don't know, you know, and then we get a lot of folks out of Helena that come here and and
mhm.
those are the folks we deal with all the time. You know, we deal with, I think 9% of our time is dealt with 5% of the population, and, you know, the other ones, yeah. You wanted to meet the good folks, you drive down the country road and stuff and say hi, so.
We need a grant writer for the county. Period.
An administrator to go with it, so.
Well, I'd be happy with a grant writer at first, I've been able to all the agencies.
You good?
Well, and I think it's between Helena and Boswell. Right through town.
You know, the sad thing is, south end of the county is just getting big right now.
Really?
You're working for it? Yeah. And for a month there, and that's whole, everything, once you get past, can't go. Down there all the time, yeah. Then you get, well, you get a lot of those folks out, you know, Three Forks or something and stuff. Have a great day.
Okay.
You too.
I will.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
You guys kind of talked
Well,
about.
15, I think.
Sorry.
Recess until 1:30.
I would like to request that we have a scheduled closed door at 1:30, so what are you suggesting? We have some mail, why don't we just push through, get it done with, that's all we have left. Then we can do our budget maybe on Wednesday, table that too.
I got from mail over there,
Okay.
sir. Well, and I don't think the claims are up here.
Apparently we don't have all of them anyway, I guess.
Well, no, I think there's some to come up.
Right, but apparently there's all, because, well, like I said, when I was there, it said there wasn't any. What Debbie told me. Okay, this is on the, we went through that, this was,
The claims are not inserted, so there's no way to track them. I was nervous about bringing them up here, so I asked Debbie to just hold on to them. We can go through them on Wednesday, because I
Okay.
think Tammy might be back. But with so many claims ending up accidentally in that pile of paper over there in the corner, I didn't want to chance losing one
No.
that hasn't been tracked. So that was me that said that. Until we have a guarantee that they'll come back when they belong, it's just too much of a risk.
I agree.
I don't think there's anything else here. There's a water sample. This,
I thought we just had that.
that's what I say, there's another copy of it. Maybe it stayed here. Yeah, because it had the same date.
You might want to pass that down just to be on the safe side, frankly. Thank you. You really send out some duplicates.
I'm gonna check to see if all this water, this testing here was for the silos or if someone had the fair board yet. So I think we got it.
A piece of mail that had appears Mr. Salifka doesn't want to share is First Judicial District Court. Natalie Wenzel, plaintiff versus Broadwater County Commissioners, Broadwater County stipulation for dismissal. It's hereby stipulated and agreed by and between the parties, each acting herein, therefore, their respective counsel of record, that the above entitled action shall be dismissed with prejudice as settled, and the court is hereby authorized and requested to execute and enter the order of dismissal with prejudice, and to make all other orders and judgments which may be necessary and proper to effectually dismiss that action, said action with prejudice. It is further stipulated and agreed that each of the parties to said action shall bear and pay all costs and expenses heretofore incurred or to be incurred by them respectively in connection with said action. Broadwater County's price was the $10,000 deductible for our insurance. That's it, we're done. I think that's worth bringing forward.
That was filed.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then are we gonna recess till 1:30?
Recess till 1:30.
1:30 is the close meeting. I have a question, those figures that you gave Brenda to look at,
Oh,
could I?
yeah. Sorry, I forgot about